Hello Capricorn, and welcome to your November Insights video. Instead of talking you through the lunar cycle, as I usually do in these recordings, I'm going to talk you through the shifts of Jupiter into Sagittarius and the nodes onto the Cancer Capricorn axis, as well as Uranus's move back into Aries, because these are shifts that are going to affect us over the long term. The Jupiter will be in Sagittarius for 13 months. The nodes will be transiting your sign and your opposite sign for the next 18 months. So these videos, instead of just guiding you through the 4 weeks, are going to take you on a much longer journey. So first of all, let's look at Jupiter's movements. The King of the Gods has been in your 11th house in the sign of Scorpio for the past 12 months, since October last year. And he has been amplifying your dreams, visions, goals, individual purpose, and your friendships and networks. The 11th house is very much like the web that we weave. It's all of the online and interpersonal connections we make. It's our circles, it's our communities. And Jupiter here has been expanding opportunity through these areas. But because he's been in Scorpio, the sign of the alchemist, it's likely that you've had to do some deep soul diving and some shedding and rebirthing in these areas of your life as well. So although it's a nice place for Jupiter to have been transiting, there will have been Scorpio intensity, because we can't avoid that when we're looking at scorpionic energy. So with the new moon and the sun here at this time as well, we're kind of finishing up old lessons in these areas. So on the 8th of November, tomorrow, the day after the new moon, Jupiter is going to enter his home sign. He's going to head back into Sagittarius for 13 months until December 2019. Sagittarius rules over your 12th house, Capricorn. So this is the space of the birth chart where we merge with Source. It's the final house. It's the house of dissolution, of letting go of the ego so that we can merge with the infinite. It's the house that is very much connected with the deep subconscious, the collective unconscious, and psychic receptivity. It's the house that is ruled over traditionally by Pisces, by Neptune. So it's that very transcendent, very ethereal, kind of boundaryless type of energy that we're dealing with here. So when we have a Jupiter transit in the 12th house, it often expands our psychic receptivity. So we can feel more sensitive than usual, we can feel more empathic than usual, we can feel like we are a bit of an emotional sponge, taking on other people's stuff if we're not careful. But also, because Jupiter in Sagittarius is all about spiritual truth, and the 12th house is all about connection with Source, this can be a time of huge spiritual awakening to a really much deeper connection with the divine, a reorientation towards your spiritual truth, which could be really nice, Capricorn, because we know that you are having a challenging time at the moment, because we've got Saturn, you know, your ruler, going through your sign. Pluto's here. We've had some Mars retrograde activity here over the summer. You're really being tested and challenged, and we've got the South Node coming into your sign as well on the 6th of November, so the day before the new moon, for an 18-month stay. So we know that you are really going to be releasing a lot of your old ways, a lot of your old attachments can come up to be released when the South Node, the node of release, the node of letting go, moves through your sign. The nodes are going to shift. They're going to move into your axis of relationship versus self. They're going to head into, obviously the south node will go into your first house, into your sign, and the north node will come into Cancer in your 7th house of partnership. So whilst the nodes have been in Leo and Aquarius since May 2017, they've been working over your axis of resources and intimacy, the Scorpio, Taurus, 2nd and 8th houses of your birth chart, and you've been really called to expansion through intimacy. You've been called into the shadows of the 8th house, the north node in Leo in the 8th house, calling you to look at, you know, the deepest, darkest depths of your subconscious, the fears and shadows you might have around intimacy and opening up to love. And that theme does in a way continue over the next 18 months as the north node slides backwards into your 7th house. The 7th house is the house of the other. It's the house where we meet ourselves through the mirror of our relationships. So it's not just necessarily our romantic relationships, but it can also be our business partnerships, our friendships, our familiar connections. Anywhere where we are in intimate relationship with another can be highlighted through this space. So you are being called to evolve through this area of your life, Capricorn. You are being called to evolve through relationship. And when we look at the energy of Cancer, the energy of your opposite sign, we can see that whereas you can be very reserved, very controlled in your emotional expression, Capricorn, Cancer is very, you know, is ruled by the moon, is very in tune with the ebb and flow of its emotion, very in tune with its sensitivity. This is a time where we will be collectively coming into honouring our emotions, honouring our vulnerability, letting go of the need to work to prove ourselves, to build, grab more, and coming into this space of heart-centered connection. So during this period, you can feel yourself being pulled away from your old patterns of, you know, completely throwing yourself into work, completely throwing yourself into building your legacy, your dreams and visions, which of course is part of your purpose and is completely valid. You are the cosmic architect, but there can be a tendency with Capricorn placements, and I have a Capricorn moon, so I say this with love, where we focus all of our energy on work, on building things in the outer world, and we tend to neglect our emotional needs. And this can be a time when you can start to really recognize that, Capricorn, where you can start to recognize that there needs to be a balance between work and play, between you know, really giving your all, really striving and building and creating, and coming into the flow and allowing yourself to be soft and vulnerable and to share with other people. This can be a time where, you know, you feel an evolutionary pull to connect with others. You know, if you're not in a relationship, you might find yourself being really drawn towards creating those connections. If you are in a partnership, you're going to want your partner to or feel the need to open up to your partner on a more vulnerable level, to take your relationships to a really deep heart-centered connection. You may also be thinking about having a family or having more children, or really creating and maintaining a solid home base for your family to be nurtured in, for yourself to be nurtured in. You know, you're going to maybe feel more drawn towards your inner world, your inner temple, rather than the business that you're building on the outside. So it's a deep time for you of really embracing your opposite energy, because you're very familiar, of course, being a Capricorn, with the Capricorn energies, you're very familiar with that kind of ethic. You are less likely to embrace the emotional reactivity and sensitivity of the Cancerian traits. So you need to start to find the balance between the two. And you will find, as the eclipses begin to fall in your sign and your opposite sign, that your balance between self and other is very, very much highlighted. So relationships can go through some interesting transitions and shake-ups when the node is in our sign. And things that are blocking you from reaching your fullest potential, you know, the old attachments, the old ways of being, can start to fall away with the South Node moving through your sign. It's about letting go and coming into something new, looking at things in a new way, doing things in a way that you've never done them before. And through that, your life can change, your relationships can deepen, you can become more whole to yourself. So it's a very watery energy, you know, two watery kind of elements being activated in your chart over the coming cycles, Capricorn, which will, you know, bring some balance because old man Saturn is in your sign. So it's a very beneficial change, and it can help you to come into harmony with your own intuition and your own inner truths. Uranus, the storm god, has been in Taurus since May the 15th, which means he's been in your 5th house. Those of you born just around the winter solstice, early Capricorns, will have been having a trine from him, in your fellow earth sign. And Uranus, of course, revolutionises whatever he touches. So he's been in your 5th house of play, of fun, of sacred self-love, of romance, kind of shaking things up, shaking up the old belief systems in those areas since May. He's now going back into Aries until next spring. And of course, Aries is your 4th house of home and family. It's the Cancer ruled house, the moon ruled house of your birth chart. So there's a definite theme and alignment going on here. And he's kind of going back into Aries, where he was from 2011 till early 2018. And he says, you know, we forgot there's some things that we didn't work through in this area. You know, there's some shake-ups that still need to happen. There's some changes that still need to happen in these areas. So themes of family, themes of roots, you know, if you have been thinking about moving or trying to move house on a physical level, this can be a helpful transit as well. There can be a need to liberate yourself from old karmic and family ties and genetic constructs as well, you know, genetic things that are unhelpful that have been passed down through your genetic lineage, things and family ties, family restrictions that stop you from being your authentic self, that don't allow you to express your individual truth, can also come up for review. There can be shocking revelations, you know, things maybe happening in your family that you hadn't expected, things being revealed. You know, Uranus always illuminates the truth for us and brings sudden insights in transformative ways. So all of these themes can be playing out over the next couple of months as well, until he goes back into Taurus, back into your 5th house next spring. So I'm going to pick a card for you, Capricorn, from the Sacred Rebels Oracle deck by Alana Fairchild. I've chosen these because they have a very Uranian energy and are also very good at helping us focus on our purpose and see, you know, the steps that we need to take at this time. So let's pick a card for you, Capricorn, for November. Interesting. So we have Legacy of Light. And that's really interesting because your sign and your opposite sign, the Cancer Capricorn axis, is all about legacy. It's all about what are we going to leave behind for future generations. And that's where you are so brilliant, Capricorn, because you build things that last for the lifetime, that last for the long haul. You don't do things quickly, but you build things that are meant to last. So this is asking you, you know, retuning you into those Saturnian vibrations. What is the legacy that you want to leave behind? And if you look deep in your soul, we can see the moon up here, the Cancerian vibration, and we can also see the kind of the ancestor, what we might call the crone, the mother or the maiden, and the child here as well. So it's really asking you to think about what are you leaving behind for future generations? What is your intention with the building and the creating that you're doing? You know, how is it going to have a positive impact? But also realizing that the deepest legacy we can leave behind is our legacy of love. You know, how much we loved and how much we were loved in return, because we can tend to be focused on the material, on the ambition, on the reputation, on the outer structures, but when we get to the end of our life, what we're going to think about is our relationships and the people that we loved and the people that loved us. So maybe that's something to bear in mind during this transit of the node of Cancer in your 7th house. So thank you so much for listening to me, Capricorn. If you wish to connect with me further, there are some links below that will take you to my Facebook pages and groups. Have a beautiful November.